My name is Gina Bell, and I'm a storyteller. This is The Little Man in the Bottle, written and narrated by myself, Gina Bell. Enjoy. The Little Man in the Bottle is dedicated to my grandfather and father, Eugene Rex Ingram. I miss him every day. There once was a couple named Gene and Patsy. Gene had 3 sons before he even met Patsy. When Patsy married Gene, she knew he had come as a package. Gene came with 3 little boys in desperate need of a mother of their own. Patsy thought of Gene's sons as her own. She had raised all 3, but now they were all grown. So when Gene's oldest announced there would be a new baby, Patsy and Gene were very, very happy. Patsy and Gene dreamed of babysitting his soon-to-be sweet little baby. The doctors thought she'd be a boy, but it was a little girl they got on January 1st. A healthy little girl had come into this world. Though Gene's oldest was a bit sad to lose the son he thought that he'd have, Patsy was thrilled. Finally, their very own little girl. They named her Gina after her dad and granddaddy. Sadly, Gina's parents did not work out, so she found herself living at her grandparents' house. Gene and Patsy had become her father and mother. Gene was quite magical, and he could make wonderful things happen. Gina really only had one small problem. There were no other children. No other children lived near them. She dreamed of having someone to play with. She had only her dogs, and though she loved them to the moon and back, oftentimes she dreamed of a friend that could actually talk back. Gina went to her magical grandfather and told him what was the matter. "I want you to shrink me a friend," she requested. Gina had seen an advertisement for a tanning cream. On the billboard was a little girl with a little dog pulling at her bikini. Gina wanted Gene to bring them to life so she'd have someone to play with to fill a void in her life. She imagined building them a nice place to play. She'd make it so nice she knew they'd want to stay. Gina dreamed of owning her own little living doll. If anyone could, she knew her grandfather would. Gina stared up at her magical grandfather. Gene sighed and looked down at the little girl that now was his daughter. Though secretly he knew he'd pull this off come hell or high water. Gene said he'd consider using his magical power. Gene let her know what she was asking would not be easy. A difficult trick never happens quick. If she could be patient, he'd try and find an old spell he knew was ancient. Gina got to work and built a tiny town out of her toys. It took all of her blocks and all of her Lincoln logs to make this tiny town perfect. Each day, Gene would come home and inspect it. Finally, they both agreed the tiny town was all done. They both agreed it was now ready for a small little someone. The call came in at 10:15. Gene had pulled off his magic and she should get ready. Tonight, all the waiting would end. The next time he came through their front door, he would have her new little friend. With excitement, she waited at their gate on top of the hill, hoping to find her order had been filled. Finally, she heard the sound of his car. He parked his car, and as he approached, Gina heard a tiny little voice. The voice was coming from a pocket of his work jacket. Gina couldn't make out his words, but she knew it wasn't the voice of a little girl. It sounded like a little man, and he sounded very, very mad. Gina introduced herself to the tiny little man, and they had a short conversation about his current situation. Gina felt bad about the magical request she had made. The little man wanted to go back to his life, so Gina gave her grandfather the green light to let him get back to his wife. Though she was a bit sad, Gina had learned a valuable lesson. That night, as she laid in her bed, she thought about the little man into the wee hours. She'd need to have more respect for her grandfather's magical powers. Gina told her dogs all about it. Though they couldn't talk back, they gave a sad look as if they understood she was sad and once again lonely. They moved in closely and made her feel all warm and cozy. Years and years went on by, and the little girl turned into a woman. She had grown up and no longer believed someone could actually be shrunk. She remembered his tiny voice and the brief conversation they had regarding his horrible shrunken situation. Gina knew there was no such thing as magical powers, but she had to ask herself, how was it logical? How was it possible for her to have a real conversation with a tiny man in a bottle? Now, with a little girl of her own, Gina drove up the driveway to their little house on the hill. Gina watched as he displayed his magical powers once again for her own little precious daughter. As the old man and the little girl played, Gina asked him her question. I need to know how you made the little hostile man in a bottle. Jean smiled a soft smile, and he said that it had taken him quite a while to find the perfect little man to put in the bottle. Gina's grandfather was a detective, and he and his partner Fred had walked the streets of Chinatown for weeks to find a little man that would be effective. Making Gina believe was his only objective. What about his voice? The young mother asked. How did you pull off that part of your magical task? And then Jean explained. I had a little voice recorder. I had to guess what you'd ask. Me and Fred worked for hours to make sure you'd believe in my magical powers. I had to anticipate your gentle nature, or the whole thing would have been a massive failure. If you had wanted to keep our little visitor as your little prisoner, you'd know for sure I had been a swindler. I knew I had only one shot with you, and you asked me to unshrink him, just like I knew you would do. Time stops for no one. The little girl is now 51, but she wanted to make sure the story of the little man in the bottle will always be told. To her, the story never gets old. For the grandchildren and greats he never got to meet, Gina wants them to know he was very, very sweet. He was a magical grandfather, father, and friend. Gina will miss him till her own end. My name is Gina Bell, and I'm a storyteller. This is The Little Man in the Bottle, written and narrated by myself, Gina Bell. Enjoy. The Little Man in the Bottle is dedicated to my grandfather and father, Eugene Rex Ingram. I miss him every day. There once was a couple named Jean and Patsy.